Today's topic is establishing partnerships with families. We're going to explore multicultural education, and we're going to look at strategies for how to encourage family participation and strengthen communication. Throughout this course, we've looked at ways for how we can become great educators to our children. In this lesson, we're going to focus on how to be great educators to our families as well. What role does a child's family play in their development? And what role do they play in your classroom? No matter how great a child's teacher is, their first and most influential teacher in their life is their parent. Family involvement is key. So how can we help build positive relationships with the families that we serve? We begin this lesson by asking the question, what is a family? The term family can be defined in a number of ways. We can define family in a traditional sense, considering people who live in the same household. Family can be defined as people who have a common ancestry, such as a clan. Family can even be defined by people who hold the same convictions, such as a fellowship. Defining family can be tricky, especially in today's society. Children can come from traditional families with parents and siblings. They could come from blended families with step-parents and step-siblings. They could be adopted or even raised by grandparents. The average American family depicted in the 1950s and 60s includes a father who works outside the home and a stay-at-home mother. This average American family model only applies to 15% of all families in the United States. Now we have what is called nuclear families, where mothers work or fathers stay at home. Sometimes both parents stay at home or both parents are unemployed. Some families have two moms or two dads, and children could be biologically related or adopted. Cohabitating families are similar to nuclear families, except the parents aren't married. And single-parent families head 1/4 of all U.S. families, with single mothers representing 88%. In fact, it is estimated that roughly 60% of all children will spend some part of their childhood in a single-parent home. Blended families are products of divorce or remarriage. Children in blended families may be biologically related to one or both parents. 8% of children live with a grandparent for a variety of reasons, ranging anywhere from the death of a parent to the parent's inability to care for the child. Interracial families include parents who are different races and children who are typically biracial. Transracial families consist of parents and adopted children of different races. Foster and group home families are temporary families formed for the well-being of the child. These families are often placed by the courts or government agencies. In a kinship care family, an arrangement exists so that relatives can care for the child instead of the parents. Commuter families include parents who live and work far away from the rest of the immediate family. And transnational families live part of each year in different countries. As a teacher, it's important for us to understand each child's story, because where they come from has a huge impact on their development. Understanding a child's home life and culture plays a significant role in the curriculum we choose to implement. The books we choose to read, the dolls we choose to offer, the photos we hang on the wall, and even the activities that we do with our children. The impact of culture is huge in the early years. Children are coming to understand who they are and what they have to offer to the world. By creating an environment that fosters cultural expression, we create an inclusive environment for all learners. When I was in graduate school, one of my professors encouraged us at the start of every school year to take a walk around the neighborhoods that our children lived in. In this exercise, we came to understand the culture the children were living in. We visited their grocery stores and saw the access that they had to food. We visited their neighborhood parks and determined whether or not their structures were safe to play on or damaged. We noted the number of liquor stores, adult shops, or cash advance companies. We looked at the number of churches and community centers to determine what access to resources the children had. By taking a walk around our children's neighborhood, we come a little closer to understanding the framework in which we teach. By understanding the context in which our school is placed, we come to understand the quality of life that our children are afforded. For example, a child living in poverty who's having trouble focusing in the classroom might be more concerned with where their next meal is coming from. A child who can't keep their hands to themselves might be exposed to physical or emotional abuse. A child who has poor hygiene may come from a home that does not have running water. Children who have trouble getting their homework done may not have a parent at home who is able to help. Parents who don't come to conferences might be working multiple jobs just to make ends meet. If teachers immerse themselves in the cultures around them, they will begin to exhibit compassion, understanding, and respect for their students and families. Once you've become familiar with your children's cultural background, you can design multicultural units that focus on each culture represented in your classroom. Give children the opportunity to help lead the discussion on their culture. Ask them about special celebrations they have at home, special food they eat, or special clothes they wear. They can even bring in things from home to share with the whole class. Invite parents to come read a book to the class that represents their culture. Invite grandparents to come cook a special meal with your class. Have children share pieces of their heritage that are special to them. As children begin to identify and appreciate their own culture, they become more open to embracing the cultures of others. Unfortunately, in education today, students are taught through curriculum that lacks a multicultural understanding. Students are given little authenticity when it comes to understanding other cultures. Instead, they are reduced to reading about culture through biased and stereotypical storybooks. The impact of culture is so significant to a child's development that it cannot be overlooked. By inviting families to share their culture with you, we can create an atmosphere that is truly inclusive. Incorporate songs, books, dolls, and dress-up that represent each culture. Share recipes and cultural music to help your little ones feel that sense of connection. Music speaks many languages. By incorporating music, children become the storytellers of their generation. Music is the fastest way to develop a sense of openness and connectedness in your classroom. Whether we sing, dance, play an instrument, or simply enjoy listening to music, we can all relate to the sound of our people. Current research suggests that music plays an equalizing role in the relationships of diverse populations. It helps children to feel proud of their culture and accepting of the cultures of their peers. Cultural music is unbiased and it teaches culture in a non-stereotypical way. It also gives students the ability to express themselves to the outside world. Music is a great way to establish positive relationships with our children as well as the families that we serve. The first step in involving families is to have open and honest communication between teachers and parents. Conference time is not the only time you can update a parent on their child's progress. Informal meetings, phone calls, emails, and notes are all great ways to open up dialogue. Try to take some time each morning to check in with parents at drop-off and again at pickup to let them know how the day went. In-person communication is ideal as it can be tricky to read into what someone is saying over an email or a note. However, this is not always possible. Sometimes outside circumstances prevent us from meeting physically with our parents. In these circumstances, consider a phone call as the next best alternative. Make sure when you're sharing with parents that you're actively listening. Listen for the meaning and feeling behind the words of the sender, and be able to repeat what you understood was said. Show respect for one another and acceptance of different viewpoints. Communicate honestly what you really feel is important. Leave your ego out. When communicating about a problem, focus on the what of a problem, not on the who. Avoid jumping to conclusions. This is where you've already decided what your answer is going to be before the other person has even finished speaking. Be open to new ideas or thoughts. Take the other person's perspective in mind, and avoid judging, criticizing, or preaching. Invite parents to be active participants in your classroom. Have them come in and play with their child and other children during choice time. Have them lead a small group activity, like blowing bubbles, or playing a game, or helping a group finish a puzzle. Invite them to read a story or script a puppet show. Invite them to play music with children or introduce songs from their culture. Invite them to conduct science experiments or make Play-Doh with the children. Have them come and eat lunch with your class or invite them on field trips. Have them come in and cook a family recipe or plant a classroom garden. If you have parents who can't be involved in your classroom throughout the week, consider holding weekend or weeknight family gatherings. Research shows that the more invested a parent is in their child's education, the more successful the child will be. So let's start building those relationships.